Today we're looking at Excel Module 3. As we're starting out with Module 3, we're first going to look at the autofill option in here. I believe we start with a number similar to this in this formula or in this spreadsheet. I think I deleted too many items here for you, so let me get back what was in there. So just to autofill, you're going to click on the cell that you want to copy or autofill over, and you'll just highlight that cell first. You'll click in the very bottom right hand corner where you'll get a little cross or a plus sign, and you'll just drag down, which will give you, it'll fill just that number or that series. And you can also drag across and it'll fill. Now notice it's going to give me the same number because that's the only number I have referenced there. If I had other numbers there or a formula there or something like that, it would give me a different item there. Also notice this other autofill options box that pops up. This is going to give me the option to fill with formatting only. So if I choose this box, it's just going to give me the formatting that's there. So this is a light gray background that's back there. So if I choose that box, it's only going to fill with the formatting that I had in there. Or maybe I had the accounting number format there, or a percentage sign or something like that, and I just want to copy that formatting that I had. I can fill with that formatting and not copy all those numbers over. So that's an option that you can do. You can autofill just the formatting that you have in those cells so that you can reuse those again. You can also fill without formatting. So that's going to highlight the cells and not copy all those formatting options as well. Something else that's going to be good for you to know how to use is the extend a range of cells. When you extend a range of cells, you're going to highlight the entire range that you want to extend. Again, click the bottom right hand corner and drag over. You see the dark green box as I'm dragging over. When I'll release my mouse, it's going to progressively give me those extended percentages. So I started with 5%, 10%, and now I go all the way up to 35%. If I had just clicked on the 10% and drug that over, I would have just been autofilling. Okay, so if I want to extend the range, again, I have to highlight the entire range that I want to extend and then drag that over. You'll notice again, I will get that autofill box down here where I can fill in the formatting, change up the formatting in this series as well. Another item that you're going to be using is something called absolute cell references. Let me switch over and show you real quickly just the difference between absolute cell references, mixed cell references, and relative cell references before I show you an example of how to do these. An absolute cell reference is a cell that remains fixed even when a formula or function is copied to a new location. To do this, you would include a $sign before each column or row designation. You want to use this, you use this when you want your copied formulas to always remain constant or the same. Okay, so if I'm always wanting to refer back, so I've got these percentages over here. If I always want to refer back to a 5% on this, then I would, and I'll switch my screen and show you in just a second. But if I always want to refer back to the same exact cell and remain like a constant value, then this is when I want to have an absolute cell reference. A good example of that would be like a tax rate. If I am working in a spreadsheet and I've got a lot of sales data that I'm working in, and I want to refer back to that specific tax rate for all of my sales data, then I want to do an absolute cell reference on that tax rate. And that way I'm always going to be pulling from that one specific cell all the way through. That's not going to change. I would absolute cell reference that. And that way it's not going to change even when I copy that cell over or copy it within a range of cells. as I'm copying it over. Again, this is what absolute cell reference looks like. It's got dollar signs before the column and the row. You can also highlight the entire area if you want the entire thing highlighted, or the column and rows, and click F4 and it will change that for you with put the dollar sign in there. A relative cell reference, Excel interprets a relative cell reference as relative to the position of the cell containing the formula. So it will change as you copy it over. So a good example of this is just what we did over in the sales projection worksheet, where I showed you how to extend a range, how we change from 5%, 10%, 15, 20, 25, 30, and 35. We extended that range over. If you're wanting something to change as it's relative to each area or each column or something like that, if you're wanting it to change, that's relative. It's going to be relative to the location that it's in. So that's a relative cell reference. It's not going to be denoted by anything. There's no dollar signs in that. Okay, so it's just, you just type it out just like it is. Okay, so it will change. Relative will change. Absolute stays constant. It's absolutely that value. It's not going to change. Relative changes relative to the location it's at. A mixed cell reference is just like it sounds. It's mixed. It can be an absolute value on just the column, or an absolute value on just that row, or a combination thereof. You know, this one is showing an example of an absolute column with an absolute row with an absolute column. So everything can be changed up in that. Sometimes you have items like that where you want maybe the row to stay constant, but you want the columns to change. So you may have mixed. You have to pay very close attention to what we're doing in here. So let me show you an example of something in your assignment, in your project A that you're going to be doing. So over in the cost estimates on number 4, just look at number 4 in your project A, and it says in cell B8, so go over to B8, create a formula without using a function. Again, that would just be the equal sign. We learned that back in module 1, a formula without using a function that multiplies the value of cell B7. So I'm going to multiply cell B7 by, I'm going to multiply the value in cell B7 by the value in cell B6, and then add the value in B7. And then I'm going to add B7. Notice I put parentheses around, B7 times B6. So when I start this, if I notice I have more than 2 numbers in there, I always start out with a parentheses, because we'll learn in here that you always will do whatever is in parentheses first. You probably learned back in a math class before that the order of operations, you start with parentheses first. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So parentheses, then you have exponents. We don't really work with exponents much in this class, but multiplication or division, whatever comes first in that order, then addition and subtraction. Okay, so that's how it works. Anything in parentheses goes first, then you have the multiplication, division, then addition and subtraction. So in this case, we want to multiply B7 times B6 and then add whatever's in B7 for this formula. Then the problem says, update the cell reference to cell B6 from a relative reference to a mixed reference. So we're just looking at cell B6 here, the cell's B6, by making an absolute reference to row 6. So all we want to change is absolute reference to row 6. So I can click the F4 button as I'm highlighting B6, okay, I'm going to highlight B6 up here so y'all can see it. I'm going to click F4. Now it changes the row or the column and the row, but all I want to change is the row. So I'm going to click F4 again, and that makes an absolute value out of just the row. Okay, so now I have B7 times B6 with an absolute value on just row 6 plus B7. Okay, so now I'm going to click enter. Whoops. And I don't have other data in here, but that's what that absolute value is going to look like on that. We're also looking at functions in here. Functions we're looking at on the cost this is the right one, cost estimates worksheet. Should have done that one on the profit projection. Sorry about that. Going off of a blank worksheet here. So the cost estimate worksheet in cell A9. Let's go over here and let's just look at a function. So make sure y'all know how to find functions. Share my screen again with you. Okay, so let's just do an easy one, an average, okay? So you'll create a formula using the average function that calculates the average of values in the range A5 to A7. So here is A5 to A7. So we're going to do this in A9, which denotes the average over here to the side. So we're going to do this using the average function. So one way that I can do this is I can start typing out average. I'm going to start by doing equals. If I start typing equals average, I can select that from the list and I type in the range A5 colon A7 and close my parentheses, and that's going to give me the average of that range. Another way that I can do this is I can go up here to my formulas tab. I'm going to click on insert function. I'm going to search for average and click go. Oops. When I type out average, I'm going to double click average, and I'm looking for A5 to A7, not A8, and click OK. And it gives me the average. So that was two different ways that you can do it. You can use the insert function, or you can click the equal sign and start typing whatever your function name is. So two different ways you can find it. There's also, you can look through these functions up here and figure out which function you want to use. Okay, so that's two different ways you can use functions, or actually three different ways you can find functions. We're also going to be using VLOOKUPs. Let me show you what a VLOOKUP looks like. In cell B13, you're going to create a formula using VLOOKUP. Again, one easy way to do this is from the Formulas tab on Insert Function. Start typing VLOOKUP. That would be good today, huh? VLOOKUP. Double click it. Okay. So I think the easiest way to do VLOOKUPs is to use this function argument box, because it's going to tell you the steps in here are always going to tell you each item that you're going to need. So on this, your lookup value, so it says in cell B13, create a formula using VLOOKUP. Okay, we've started with a VLOOKUP. So our lookup value is going to be cell A11, okay? In the range, is going to be A5 to B7. A range is always going to be a range of numbers, so it's going to be more than one. So it's a table array or a range. Okay, an array is just a range of numbers. Okay, so it's going to be more than one number, more than one cell. A column index, so we're going to look at a column index number. So what position is that column that we're looking for? So it's going to tell you in here, returns the value in column 2, so column index number 2, and an exact match, the range lookup here, exact match will be a false value. So it tells down here, a range lookup is a logical value. To find the closest match to the first column is sorted in ascending order. Is true or omitted. To find an exact match, you're looking for a false value. And it tells us in the problem that we're looking for an exact match. So I'm going to type in false. Okay. And then I'm going to click OK. Which I don't have data in there right now. So that's why it's giving me an NA in there. But that's what your VLOOKUP is going to be. If there's another type, and it's called the H lookup, and that's a horizontal lookup. A vertical lookup is going to be vertical. VLOOKUP is vertical. H lookup is horizontal. Is an H lookup. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else we need to talk about today. I do have in the notes, I have a couple of more examples just of some functions that you're going to be using in here. So I've got examples of functions that are in this assignment. So if you need some help figuring out how these functions work or anything like that, you can go through here. And again, I told y'all that order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Again, parentheses, you always start with your parentheses. If you have something in parentheses, you're going to use it first. The next would be exponents, which we don't really use that a lot in Excel, but it's just good to remember that any kind of exponents go next. Then anything with multiplication or division or next, whichever one comes first, is what you would do next, and then addition and subtraction. Okay, so that's your order of operations, which I'm sure y'all all had that in math class before, but just in case you've forgotten, if it's been a minute since you've been in math. And then again, in case you've forgotten this, creating a formula without using a function, just put the equal sign first. So put that equal sign and then type out whatever your formula is. Okay, so we're not using any type of functions. Again, these are functions like average, min, max, net work days, VLOOKUP, stuff like that. Those are functions. And if it wants you to do a formula without a function, all you have to do is type that equal sign, okay? And then this is just some more helpful tips there. So remember that the instructions that they're giving you in here, they're going to tell you exactly the order that you need to put the cells in for the most part. I mean, they try to be very specific. They don't try to trick you or anything like that. So pay close attention to what they're telling you on these assignments. But that's all I got for you on Module 3. If you guys need any help, just reach out to me. Hope you have a great day.